Alright guys, we're back more Saints Row, continuing on with the game. I'm also listening to my own video back. So that's something, my Life is Strange, Florida Storm. Okay, so, holy shit, we have a lot of missions now. Okay. Yeah, we'll just do without Rosetta. Top.
Don't forget, game night tonight. Shit,
yeah.
Oh, thank God, fucking game night.
Those Marmite flavored potato chips you brought last time. I don't think we're ever letting you get snacks again.
Yeah, I'm pretty tired, truth be told. It's not even that late for me, but I'm also like, yeah, I'm just tired. Okay, there's more people here now.
I don't like it, Eli.
Yeah, no doubt. This fucker's hogging all the slots.
I'm talking about what we're paying the crew.
You mean what we're not paying the crew?
Bullets and 401ks are expensive.
There's a bunch of ways we can get some quick cash. Nina can boost some cars, I'll do hits, Kev can run a bake sale.
Yeah, I guess
I'm not sure that's gonna work.
Look, man, I know I normally do savory, but I can bake the shit out of some macaron.
Yeah, this game's
Here,
fucking
Catman.
terrible, though.
Look, if you want insured, salary killbots, we need to bring in a lot more cash.
All right, so what? We rob a bank?
No. We rob a train.
I don't know where this is going, but it sounds like my kind of stupid.
Okay, you know how banks have federal requirements for how much cash they need to keep on hand?
No?
Well, they do. And since the economy in Santo Ileso has skyrocketed, they have to keep bringing in more money to meet the minimums.
And let me guess, they move it in by train.
It's really more of a mobile fortress.
Oh, good.
How do you know so much about this?
Sergio talked about wanting to hit it every time it rolled into town.
But you guys never made a play for it?
We never had enough hardware. Oh my god, I'm so stupid. The Forge. That's what they were gearing up for.
Oh, so the impossible to rob train is going to be attacked by the Panteros as well. Cool.
Look, I'm not saying it would be easy, but we have time to plan. Oh, and Kev, I'm taking your wallabies for the win.
God damn it.
Wallabies.
Yes!
Okay, so it's a tough job. Let's get some extra muscle. A top-tier murder machine to help me out.
You have someone in mind?
I do. Someone I met during my stint at Marshall. It'll be a tough sell, but I bet we can persuade him.
Cool, let's give him a call.
Can't do that.
Oh, why?
He's being detained in a privately owned prison called the Frontier.
You want to break out the Nawali, don't you?
Assuming he hasn't been extrajudicially murdered by now, yes?
What can go wrong?
I mean, I could die. But let's be positive.
Coming up on the Frontier. Shit, that place is a fucking fortress. I'm gonna stay low to avoid detection. We're gonna have to find a way to do the same. You know, maybe actually be stealthy for once.
Hey, I can be stealthy. That's why I dug out my old Marshall uniform. Blend in. I'm like a total stealth pro.
Seriously? You used a hand grenade to open a bottle of beer.
That was one time.
Oh, no, I meant to. Alright. Probably start the... Okay, not what I meant to do.
On the roof. Stay in the air. I'll be out with our new recruit in 2 shakes.
10-4.
Alright.
I'm in.
You need to remember to stealth. Keep moving, and don't let any guards get a good look at your face.
If they do, I'll bluff my way through it. Quit fussing.
I don't recognize you.
Oh yeah, this is my first night shift.
Keep moving. Don't give them time to think about it.
Attention guests. A reminder that all constitutional protections are suspended on frontier property, pursuant to Congressional Secret Act number 88.
How do I stealth through then? Okay.
We haven't had a shift together in ages. Have to catch up after.
Let's skip that.
Intruder alert! Delta Protocol!
Oh, fine. You actually have to do it stealthy. Oh, fuck off.
I don't recognize you.
Oh yeah, this is my first night shift.
Keep moving. Don't give them time to think about it.
Attention guests. A reminder that all constitutional protections are suspended on frontier property, pursuant to Congressional Secret Act number 88.
You lost, rookie?
Okay, I'm gonna make quick contact with him Wally and skip on down to the control room to disable the lock on his set.
Make it fast. I don't know how long I can hold this position.
Can't talk. Brass has me running errands.
Oh, shit.
We haven't had a shift together in ages. Have to catch up after.
You're not usually assigned to this section.
See? I can so stealth.
You know what stealthy people don't do? Squawk about how stealthy they are.
Yeah. VIP cells just down here.
Hey, I don't know you.
I don't know you either. Big company. Howdy. Wanna get out of here?
You put me in here.
Career change. Got a job in mind for you. Sit tight.
What are you doing in here?
Passing through to meet my CO.
How are you getting into the control room?
Fixing to walk in like I own the place and press the button.
That seriously does not count as stealthing.
It does if it works. Evening.
What are you doing?
Orders.
Whose orders? I give it. Wait a minute. You're the one who got fired because of that museum fiasco. Fuck.
Okay.
Warning, guard down. Implementing lockdown.
Double fuck? Gotta get out of here. Maybe busting the servers?
Hey, my sister down in the Nawali cell. Back up to the maximum security cell.
Malfunction. Continuing system down.
The Nawali's loose!
Nawali, get back in your cell.
Gotta go help the Nawali. Shit. We should go.
What makes you think there is a we?
If there's not, you'll never know why I risk breaking you out.
Very well, lead on.
That's so stupid.
Okay, Nina, you were right. I'll suffer stealth. I'm gonna do my thing now.
You mean shoot your way out?
Yeah, I mean shoot my way out.
So, we kill all the guards in this room. You'll have to open the door to send reinforcements.
Good call.
Here I thought I was following you.
Stayed home.
This is Atticus, Marshal. Get my prison back under control! Get those vermin back to their cells! There can be cameras. I want to know who's behind me. You? What the hell are you doing in my prison? I fired your ass! God damn!
Can't talk, Atticus. Busy breaking out prisoners.
Kill the guard!
I'm the best for a reason.
That'll teach you to tell crime!
Don't like to keep them alive anymore.
Return all prisoners to their cells!
Martial standards are so low.
Gosh, I lost this video. If only wasn't so good times now.
Unauthorized lethal containment measures!
Sorry. Let's do this again. How long has it been? 45 minutes. I talk more about the Firefly Lab chapter on than I do all of AC3.
Reinforcements are on their way!
I just went around circles. I have no clue. Oh, I literally just went around circles. Cool.
No can do. We started a prison riot. The whole place is lit up like a Christmas tree. I can't get anywhere close.
Okay, change of plans. Down instead of up. Still calm.
Careless, but opportunistic. Interesting.
The main gates are still open. Just get yourself a car and drive through.
Get in the car.
Aim for the gates.
I see them! They're headed for the gate! Close the gates! Close the gates!
Hurry, they're shutting you in.
So much for going out the front.
Dina, you got eyes on an escape route?
Can't see anything. They're chasing me out of the airspace.
Ah, so you only planned half a rescue.
Why am I driving when that Nina's supposed to be like the biggest or the best getaway driver about it? But really, I truly believe this is like some of my best work. The Firefly lab chapter on in my last video.
How will you get out of the
Problem is that's
cabin?
the end of the video. It's literally the last like 45 minutes of the video.
Just taking us back to the prison.
This is like how many people are even gonna get to that
Right
point.
across the route.
My plan exactly. One and done. Woohoo! That was fun, huh? You hungry?
Thanks for stopping.
Figured you could use a good meal. Okay. Good's a little generous. All right, it's a lot generous. But I'm willing to bet it's better than what they serve you in the frontier.
I appreciate it. And my freedom. Even if you're the one who put me there.
Ah, shit. Is this gonna be a problem?
I know what it feels like to be judged for following orders.
Sounds like a hell of a story.
It is.
You wanna tell me?
We're not friends.
We could be.
I should go.
You need a ride?
No, no. It would be nice to walk. But thank you for offering. Call me when you're ready to talk about the job.
Genuinely caring about him, but more so utilizing him to fulfill this role that she has always wanted for herself. And to me, this has always been a very fascinating
exploration of themes of selfishness and love and how inflated the two can end up being. And the exploration of these themes within the
Hey,
character of Joel is what has
I
always
hope
made
this
Joel
thing with the Nawali works out, because we really kicked the hornet's nest on this one.
How do you mean?
I mean, Marshall is out in force. They've set up checkpoints and roadblocks all over the west side of town, looking for you and the Nawali.
I could stay ahead of Marshall.
Are you sure? 'Cause from what I hear, they have orders to shoot you on sight.
But in doing so, they also are stripping Ellie of her agency. They also aren't giving Ellie the choice, and if it wasn't for the fact that we know Ellie would have wanted to go through this, they would also be clearly in the wrong as well. Again, they are literally making this girl a martyr for a potential cure without really letting her have a say in all. Well, first of all, back here, just in case.
We know Ellie wants to sacrifice herself. She wants to make her life matter. But again, from the Firefly perspective, they are also doing these exact same things that Joel is doing, and I think a lot of people use that to rationalize Joel's decision. Again, stripping his character of more selfish motivations, when in reality, none of this matters to Joel. He doesn't care at all about the Firefly's motivations. All he cares about is that Ellie is in danger, and that is going to strip him of his happiness. And again, there is no black and white in this situation. This situation is completely
we got another
nuanced. Both
company
sides are doing
meeting
bad things, but it's the morality of the situation does more so towards the Firefly side of things.
Just call it a
Ellie's
train
wants to sacrifice
heist.
herself
Nobody's
to humanity. That being
listening.
the Firefly's goal
Can we at
here,
least
which would make Joel's
pretend
success in thwarting their plan
Operational
even more complex turn for the narrative.
Okay, that's super far away.
You're turning into donuts.
Fine, I'm on it.
Ellie is entirely comprised of human enemies, keeping in line with how humans are meant to be. The true antagonist of this game, entities being some of the most difficult enemy encounters in the game, as previously foreshadowed by our conversation with Robert early on. Though that is, if you actually end up participating in all of them, as really all these encounters being one thing you can run through. Being able to progress even with enemies being alerted to you. Again, there's so many features approach this section. Take the stealth approach. It's all right, but on arrow is super effective here, but the enemies here being armored. Because of the more aggressive route that does lead to, and red is just swarm you. You clearly being outnumbered here. Another advantage in this fight and the final fight in the entire game is being the potential to unlock a new weapon. Many enemies here have assault rifles, which if you take out an enemy with one, it has an 8 damage to your horse. And I mean, it's fine, but also obligation for bullets at a time, also it does damage for bullet. And other weapons, and it doesn't be precise as most other weapons. Pretty standard what you expect from an assault rifle in a third-person shooter. Again, I just really crazy on a weapon before. But in this first area, there's a really precise path that you take from protection, move you from your starting position, or to proceeding ahead, you know, without being impassable as the enemies, though. Approaching the following section with two enemies pushing towards you, pushing out the upcoming runes, which you can hide on the side and let them just run by. But I have to think it's to a second enemy encounter here. One that I really see no reason in why you actually bother fighting this room where there is no cover to use in this fight. And again, with having assault rifles, it makes it very difficult to get through this fight normally. And again, the door is literally right there from this section, so I just really just use it towards the door. But even then, you can typically start to get shot by enemies, where it makes it a bit easier. You can't do it nearby player's danger. Sure, I'm not time for you to get to the door. Those are nothing to end up missing the player's danger and dying as that. Which can be frustrating out there, but with that being, I'm playing with the stairs to the top floor. Afterwards, you get downtime for working.
That's apparent.
Very no urgent. This part seems to be, but in a way, you're going to find our web ship over also can find a number of collectibles, each of which adding more contact to the situation. But the fighting requires that you as the surgeons or beings thoughts on the situation. But the surgeons seem to be resolute in the fact that this is the cure for the infection. And once again, just believe and emphasizing how much the Fireflies truly believe that this is the case. Making this big declaration after years of wandering in circles for Delta Domo will make a difference and back into control, really showing the conviction that the surgeon has. Making you truly believe that he thinks that this is right. But you see further supported in part 2, where the surgeon also has a being Jerry, a major catalyst for the story of part 2. And there you see the fact that he is the one that convinces Marlene to go through this. You're able to see Marlene's recorder here, where she comes like yelling at the surgeon, and you're waiting for her to go ahead, saying the task get harder and harder. You just be exhausted and wanting it all to end. Really showing you Marlene's exasperated state of mind here, and decides to just let it happen here, showing you how tired you get is of this conflict. And the Fireflies are truly waiting here to end it. Jerry seems to be a big proponent of this plan. But Jerry, in this game, seems like a throwaway character, though again, he becomes a major presence in part 2. And being acted by the same actor in that game, which I can find again, felt very much like a throwaway role here. Also, you're going to find Marlene's journal, which gives a lot more insight into Marlene's character. Finding how much of a failure she felt like she was for losing Ellie, and began to lose all hope, I'm feeling like a competent front. Being upset, handing Ellie off to a couple of smugglers, thinking that she got her killed, failed Anna in that situation. Ellie's mother should be a promise too, but also feeling she feels defeated, really showing you the weight that she felt on her shoulders there, which does make her a really rash decision in giving Ellie off to Joel and Tess a bit more rational as, again, it does feel bad to me, especially when you learn here that her healed up pretty quickly, but it's really like her state of mind, showing her being desperate in that situation, and the fact that it was all forced very quickly. While ridiculous at first, actually does play for redemption here, where like Joel, Marlene feels like this is redemption for her, where Joel leading Ellie is redemption for his loss to Sarah, Marlene finding Ellie and using her to create a cure is redemption for her having lost her previously. And she writes that she had lost all hope, but when you're lost in the darkness, you look for a light. And we get the latest journal entry, see her reaction, finding Joel and Ellie, seeming scared to give herself hope there, being excited, scared, and nervous, all really making her final decision here all that more complex. But why is we going to reach the pediatric surgery area, which I'll say is kind of the anxiety of the surgery. Losing Ellie isn't, I guess it is further emphasizing that though, it doesn't kind of know that because the higher hospital to work with. For some reason, they decided to keep the tradition there, but either way, we do get the final encounter in the game here. One not too dissimilar from the first one in this section, but we have armored enemies on the left side of the room, blocking off the door. That will finish the area, though interestingly, the right side of the room ends up being mostly void of enemies, making it pretty easy to just rush our way through that side, and then using a Molotov or smoke bomb here, the door to open your path to it, making this final encounter a bit underwhelming, even in comparison to the previous ones in the chapter, though still a very difficult one if you approach it more upright. We're in that situation, you're really just slaughtering through this final batch of Fireflies, adding to the gruesome nature of what Joel will do in order to save Ellie here, really making this actually feel like a massacre. And with that, we now have a surgery room in sight, though to the side you can find the final floor of the area. That'd be another early recording, this one further humanizing her character, not really highlighting how broken she is over this decision, and apologizing to Anna, Ellie's mother, for the decision that she has to make here, but essentially being a message to Anna, talking about her giving the go-ahead, but not really feeling like she had much of a choice, thinking it was more so formality, saying that she kept her promise to Anna, look after Ellie, saying she would have done anything for her, really showing you how much of a connection she did have with Ellie through her connection with Anna, whereas you would like to be extremely close. But she continues to double down on the fact that she's doing this to save all of us, thinking about all of mankind over the life of one girl, implying that Anna was also in search of this cure as well, and again talking about how she does sympathize with Joel, and doesn't have it in her to kill him, when he is the only one that would understand the weight of this decision. Again, highlighting her sympathetic nature and this fatal flaw for her as Joel is reciprocating this map, also highlighting the difference between the two, and how they both are again put in the same dilemma, both have vastly different reactions. Marlene deciding to let go of her protector role here, while Joel simply can't. But once we proceed to the surgery room, which has us walking in right before surgery, is to commence with Ellie already being knocked out.
the surgeon, we later know as Jerry, ends up blocking Joel's way with him trying to fend off Joel, saying that he won't let Joel take her, and to think of all the lives that she'll save, only for Joel to not care and shoot him there, being the only person we are forced to kill in this area, despite there being 2 others in the room, with his death obviously spawning the crash story of part 2. Even though obviously all that is a retcon, I mean, Jerry here doesn't look anything like what he looks like in part 2, and the concept of Abby and creating parallels between Jerry and Joel were clearly not accepted at the time. It's just a situation of them very clearly realizing the pieces that were reset in the original and being able to utilize them in a really interesting way to create an equally complex story following this. They've been taking this moment for its own right, and it's being a great moment, where whether or not you agree
Hi,
or
Nina.
disagree with Joel's
Rustling
decision,
up
the game
donuts
forces you
for the
to kill
meeting.
Jerry here. Again,
Any
this guy
preferences?
Flynn as the only person that
Ooh,
can create this cure
give me the
for
special.
You want me to check what it is first?
It's a donut, and it's special. What else do I need to know?
Killing the others as well. The something I do find really funny about this section is that they end up having ragdoll physics the moment that they're shot, which ends up looking a bit ridiculous. But also there is ridiculousness here in how you can literally just use any range weapon to kill them, including your flamethrower, which is really dumb. But also there are a bit more shady specific weapon here, but I guess they didn't fully think that through. Either way, this ends up cementing
Hey,
Joel's
Kev,
role
picking up
in society,
donuts.
which
Want
again,
anything?
feels criticism for
man.
in part 2. I was personally extremely
I should probably avoid the carbs.
I thought it was cheat day.
That's Tuesdays. Blue Ridge Donut Place. Maybe I'll make an exception.
But I do feel like the basic idea of how Joel dies and how he is killed by the daughter of the surgeon that he killed, these ramifications for how he doomed society in order to save Ellie, is exactly what I wanted coming into the sequel. To me, feel like a very satisfying way for his character to go out, which again, I might talk about more detail there in depth look at part 2 in the future, which
It's
don't
my
discuss
lucky
further.
day.
But anyway, we follow this up with Joel that saying, "Come on, baby girl," feeling very reminiscent of the moment that he gets up Sarah after the car crash. And starts to make his escape with this really emotional music, swelling up, building up how emotional of a moment this is. Let's play as Joel with Ellie in his arms, just like we did with Sarah in the prologue, and feeling like another full circle moment. Running through the hospital, towards the elevators with the fireflies on our trail, which I will say you can be caught by the fireflies here, which can lead to some weirdness, which seems really ruining all the momentum here in the story. But also, this death sequence didn't even load in properly for females trying to report footage for the video, which just was funny to me. But the joy in the elevator here, we get a short moment here. You can see Joel's reaction to this just by himself, seeming to come to terms with what he just did, seeming relieved that the fact that he did end up saving Ellie, being a short look at her proceeding, still seeming resolute in what he's doing. And despite the questionable morality of what Joel does here, it does feel like Joel remains resolute in this, even up to his death, where literally in the final scene that we see of him in part 2, he's just to it all over again. And I do feel like the determination from Joel and how resolute he is and making the choice that he makes here are defining traits of what makes him a complex character.
Everyone's
And
trying to
thematically
break into
satisfying
the
one
murder
at that.
business
Let's leave the final cutscene of the chapter being a really heavy one in that. And Joel exits the elevator to find Marlene waiting for him with a gun pointed towards him, telling Joel that he can't save her, reminding him of the horror of there, only for Joel to say that that isn't for Marlene to decide, which is ironic considering he is also making that decision for Ellie. Which again, I think will take some piece of value when this is strange yes for Joel in this situation. Where Joel is also taking away Ellie's ability to decide here. Also, Joel knows that Ellie would be willing to sacrifice herself, as Marlene even proceeds to call him out for. But again, here we do see
Thought this
Marlene
was gonna be easy money, huh?
offering to let Joel go if he returns Ellie to the Fireflies here, which I will assume that she doesn't know about Jerry's death yet, as if she did, this does feel kind of fun considering again, the entire last of the series surmises that Jerry is the only one that can create a vaccine. It's still done, but either way, we end up cutting away here before we end up seeing Joel's answer, only seeing him look at Ellie before we cut away, allowing for the following scene to play out a bit more dramatically, with you not being sure exactly what Joel decided, even though, I mean, thematically, it only makes sense of what he ends up doing. But I initially interpreted his look at Ellie as him truly contemplating it, though in reality, it's obviously him feeling even more determined that he needs to save her. But first, the following scene starts off with us seeing Joel trying
And
to...
moving on, I'm so tired right now, though.
Again, we see him take a deep breath here, seem to recognize the weight of the decision that he's made, but also the fact that his work isn't done just yet. And again, here they make you think that there's a chance that he made a deal until we end up hearing Ellie's voice and her awakening in the backseat.
Any idea who might have put you on wanted?
Like your pick. Marshall, Yaddles, Los Panteros, somebody's widow or orphan.
Right.
Pretty sure I got a former college roommate who might have done it.
Well, whoever it is has money. Bound to get sentenced.
Honestly, it does still clarify that Ellie is special, and this is essentially Joel telling her story as if Ellie was just like all the other test subjects, when in reality, everything indicates that she wasn't. And while Joel's telling his lie here, you can see Ellie's reaction, her seeming to know something is off here, her and being intelligent enough here to recognize that everything isn't aligning here, and it isn't Joel's character to do whatever he can to get her out of this. And she seems to be aware of, and that bothers her, but also that she doesn't want to be true.
It is.
Which I think plays a
I'm
major
taking you to
factor
my
into
buddies,
the final
Hank
scene.
and Claude.
But here he ends up telling her
They
that
designed the
all
Wanted
this
app.
leaving Ellie
They can
devastated,
take
and
you
she
off
turns
it.
away from Joel. Her turning her back away from Joel,
Yeah,
her detaching
they're
herself
cool.
from Joel,
They
who's Joel
brought
ends up
the
saying,
gig
I'm sorry,
economy to
feeling like a
murder
double-sided statement
Well,
there.
it started
Being
as a
initial sorry
dating
is
app,
sorry for
but
disappointing
the market
her,
was so
such as telling her that she's not
crowded,
special, but also him saying I'm sorry
Glad
for
they
lying
found
to
their
you about
niche.
things that happen, but also him saying I'm sorry for the selfishness that he's displaying here, for the selfish decision that he ended up making. Like, all of that can be displayed with this one statement here. All of this being an incredible way for the story to turn out here, but also just being incredibly sad. When in
how
fact
do
that
you know
Joel is
these
essentially
two
telling Ellie that
hacker
she isn't
guys?
special, and that her
True
immunity doesn't
Wanted.
mean anything.
Back when it was a dating app.
You dated one of them?
Both. We had a really special week together.
Back during that rooftop scene, a weight that bears on her throughout the story of part 2 as well. But also brings us to the bigger aspect of sadness and all this, especially for us as the player, in that this leads to this unbreakable bond between Joel and Ellie fracturing, which keeps this tension between the two up until the eventual reveal of Joel outright telling her about what actually happened, turn that ends up completely separating the two up until the night before Joel's death, which is later killed.
I knew I had it in. Holy shit. Someone set up a roadblock.
All just feels like a massive tragedy. But there's so much talk about how The Last of Us is a story about how development certainty within the story to me, it's never really did that, as it really feels like there are minor instances of hope, only for that hope to eventually fade away. And Joel's saving of Ellie and continuing to lie to her about it feels like the epitome of that. There's hope for Joel and him getting out of this
Another
rut that he'd been
roadblock.
for 20 years, redeeming
These guys
himself
are getting
from Sarah's death,
serious.
but later push Ellie away even further, which in turn after an eventual death ends up leading Ellie into the cycle of vengeance that leads to her ending up alone, this biggest fear that she's always had. Even just within the context of this one game, this is extremely gutting way to see this relationship end up.
Hey,
There's so much of this
that
game
went
that
better
the
than I
movie
expected.
actually two characters bond, rather than not even last the entire runtime. But it is something that makes the entire story of The Last of Us so complex. One of the greatest highlights of the entire story is how much it plays with your emotions, and truly I would not have it any other way. Now throughout the entire scene of Joel lying, we also were seeing these cuts to to what actually happened, showing Joel ending up shooting Marlene, which obviously could have
There's their
just
house.
from the fact that
We're
Joel still
almost
having
out
Ellie.
of this.
And while this overall scene can seem superfluous, I do think it was necessary to still show the Marlene death here largely as a way to highlight Joel's ruthlessness and how determined he is to save the one that he loves and bring these Sarah death parallels
Hey,
completely full circle at this
Claude.
point. But this in essence
Hi,
is redemption
Kev.
for him.
What a
And his
pleasure.
conversation for Marlene is being eerily
I
similar
need
to
a
that conversation
favor.
of the soldier that killed Sarah.
My
Joel being
friend
held
ended
by
up on
his
your
daughter
Wanted
for
app and needs to get
situation where
taken
this
off.
is
Oh, I'm sorry. We never curate user content on the Wanted app. Corporate policy!
Yeah? How about I put you two yahoos on the app?
Wait, what?
Got more users incoming.
We'll hold them off if you two clean up this mess.
Motion to amend corporate policy? Second! All in favor? Aye! Motion passes. Hurry! Take us all off!
Changing of perspectives here with Joel having just made some very questionable decisions. You're meant to be like Ellie to be struggling with the morality of that, which I do think makes it appropriate to not be playing as Joel here. Instead of playing as Ellie, who clearly does have some questions for Joel. Also allowing for the epilogue here to be a mirroring of the prologue, with you playing as Ellie, the daughter figure for Joel, with you starting the game playing as Sarah and you ending the game
Sorry
playing as
for
Ellie.
putting a hit out on your friends there,
Both being
Kev.
used to put you in a vulnerable state.
kinda
But here,
asking
Ellie not being
for
sure
it.
she can still trust Joel, which leads to the following scenes. We're also beyond, we get some minor
I'll
mirroring
make
of the
a
fact that
mint
after
out of
their
you.
driving and breaking down, conveniently right outside of Jackson, where again in the prologue, their car breaks down after leaving their home. Well, the car breaks down in the epilogue here before they reach their
Killing
home.
people
That was
with
pretty
money
sad
is
there,
harder
actually.
than I thought.
Which is just a straight shot from there. We end up starting to see with Ellie looking at her way, clearly distracted in a similar way. Now she was at the start of the West Depot chapter. They're having a bit of an identity crisis here. But a scene can be interpreted two different ways. It could be a scene of her trying to buy into Joel's story and in turn recognizing that her immunity is for naught.
This is
Though
the
otherwise,
big
the
one.
connection here can also be the fact that she openly doesn't believe Joel's lie. And in fact, by now being more of a sign of Joel not giving her the opportunity to save the world and her feeling guilt over that. Either way, she does have a survivor skill in the fact that she is immune from these infected by viruses that take away many of the people that she loved. So gameplay-wise, we see the two moving on where we see the two helping each other.
You're really making us earn it, huh?
Here, with Joel early in the
I'm
conversation,
going back
acting
there.
like his happy-go-lucky self that he was at the beginning of the West Depot chapter, joking
I
around
think you
about
mean
being
he
safe now,
initialized the
talking about
server?
Sarah, talking
The
about how
code
he's
stuff
enjoying
in
life
the
like this, and how her and Ellie would have been
database.
good friends.
But the
Showing
server is
Joel
what
looking at
pushes
Ellie as a
them.
direct Sarah parallel. To the HBO show,
die
even
for
changing this line a bit to where Joel makes it more clear that he doesn't see Ellie and Sarah the same, though it isn't here in the game. And I do like it better here and how this can be interpreted as Joel's love for Ellie as being a selfish desire from him. But I think adds complexity to his character. This does still show development for Joel here. He's showing him very good thoughts about Sarah now. Bringing her up to Ellie as a new thing, showing how Ellie has allowed him to move on from Sarah. I like the side area as you find anything Firefly in the game. The comic sitting on a broken down truck, but eventually we would have enough to where we get this view of the town of Jackson in front of us. A beautiful landscape, and you think that this is going to be this more idealistic outcome for Joel and Ellie, with them finding a new home and being able to live in peace.
Oh, am I out of ammo?
Out that way. The final bit of gameplay here is a scene Joel climb up a cliff to where he will reach out his hand and Ellie will jump down onto it. And the final showcase the bond between the two, showing Ellie accepting and needing help from Joel in this situation, kind of showing how vulnerable position she is in the real world here. This representation of Ellie needing someone that she trusts to help her survive, as anyone does. Playing into the role that Joel serves, though, also has to complex Ellie's character in this final scene. It plays into this concept of not wanting to be alone, where it does take us to the final cutscene in the game. Being a pretty perfect one for this game to end on. Where here we have Ellie stopping Joel before they run into Jackson, with her plenty opening up to him about her backstory, especially telling him the events that left behind with her talking about the moment she got bit, alongside her best friend in Riley, and Riley having said to her that they should be all poetic and lose their minds together, with Ellie still waiting for her turn here, really showing the survivor guilt that Ellie feels from her being immune, where anyone else would have died in that same situation, and she has seen these situations play out over and over again. Now seeing Riley, Tess, and Sam going through that, and clearly having a tough time to determine why her, why is she the one that able to survive these things, being even more perplexed by Joel's declaration that she isn't special, which is an overall pretty great monologue for Ellie's character, really making it clear that the reason why she is so resolute in wanting to make her life matter and wanting to be the cause of the creation of the vaccine is because she looks at this as her chance for redemption. Where I do think the theme of redemption is one that is done pretty subtly across this game, though you do come across so many
I reckon
characters
maybe
that do
the
attempt
Saints
to redeem
ought to
themselves.
take
That
that
Joel,
app off
Tess,
your
Marlene,
hands
and Tommy, many
for
of these
everyone's
games,
sake.
their characters all
You
have
mean
a redemption arc to
bio?
them. With this being a reveal of Ellie's, I think this theme is utilized in a really
We own
interesting
the
way here.
Wanted
The fact that
app
both Joel and Ellie's
Yeah.
redemptions
But
come
we're
from
super
complete
late for
opposite
realized
results of the
meeting.
same conflict, where Joel gets redemption from saving Ellie, and in essence, redeeming himself for the loss of Sarah, while Ellie's redemption comes from sacrificing herself. Where she looks at herself as a failure and able to save Ellie. And what I love now for that is the cause this entire outbreak did conclude, because it adds further complexity to Joel's decision, Joel's selfishness that he displays, and that he essentially took away Ellie's redemption for his own redemption. But a minor criticism of this scene here is that I feel like the delivery of certain lines here does feel a bit awkward. Particularly the line, "Her name was Riley and she was the first to die." It does feel very tilted to me, which is always throwing me off when watching this scene.
Yeah, I think we'll end here. I'm tired, dude. It's only like 2:20, which is like early for me, but also I did get up earlier today, and I guess I might as well try like fix my sleep schedule to a degree. So I guess we'll try to do that. Why not? So, thanks for watching.